And we're live.
We are. Hi, Janice.
Hi, Andrea. How are you today?
I am well. So before
Excellent.
we even get into it, let's introduce ourselves. Is that
Yes,
it?
please. Yes, please.
Hi, everyone. I'm Andrea McGibbon from Disidentify, and it is my pleasure to be one of your hosts for today's session. And with me, I have.
Hi, I'm Janice Dakers Jones, and I'm the founder of Biz Head Start Jamaica. And Biz Head Start is really just committed to helping people start and run successful businesses.
Awesome.
So that's
Awesome.
who we
Awesome.
are.
That's who we are.
So, how was last week?
Last week was a good week. I said I must prepare for this because I know you're going to ask me this question every week. But last week was a good week. Um, the weekend was busy, but it was also a good weekend. Also,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Last week was busy, 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 busy. I had several deadlines and I had several really important and exciting things that I did. So, it was a productive week. But let me tell you, when the tired hit, oh boy,
oh
I was so
wow,
tired. On
I
Saturday, I
know
was
the tired.
so exhausted. But it was a good kind of exhaustion.
I get
Lots,
that.
lots got done. Lots got done.
Okay,
So, what are you
you're sharing
grateful
the
for
link.
this week?
Huh?
What are you grateful for?
I am grateful for God's faithfulness.
Yeah.
Just the little ways in which He works sometimes. Um, and always just not missing what's on your heart. I
Hmm.
think it's just one of the things about him that I just adore so much. We'll go through the big challenges and the breaking and the making, but there's just something different when the things that you don't even whisper, but the things you consider on your own heart so quietly,
Hmm.
and he just surprises you and woos you by blessing you with it, and you say, boy, I didn't even ask for it, but then you knew I desired it, you knew my heart, and my heart was important to you. And
Yeah.
so I'm just grateful for the kind of relationship I have with him, his faithfulness, but also his faithfulness to what is in the word and how the word describes him, as a father, as a friend, as the one who cares for us so deeply. And like I'm living in that. And I'm just grateful for the opportunity after how many years of not having it. I'm just grateful for that opportunity. So that's what
Yeah.
I'm grateful for today.
So I'm grateful for answered prayers. There's just been things that I've been praying about, and I'm seeing them happening right in front of my eyes. You know. So I'm really, really grateful, and I don't take it for granted at all. And I'm just happy about. I feel when you have intellectually that God
Mhm.
sees and hears you, but when He answers your prayers, you feel seen, you feel
That's a
heard.
different feel.
It's a different feel, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that.
Okay, awesome. Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome.
So what are we talking about today?
Today, we are talking about a plan that works.
Hmm.
We could also say it's the plan that
The
works. But let's call it a plan that works because we always have these whole heap of plans contending with.
and it's
But it
planning
is
season.
a plan that works. What comes to your mind when you think about that?
Um, Something that's sure.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in light of the fact that plans fail, plans, disappoint, Plans seem to work, and then suddenly, something just happens that just blows all of that expectation, anticipation, projection out the door. Um, so it speaks to even our own need as human beings to have some level of assurance and constant and surety, you know,
Yeah.
this pursuit for what's the right path to take, what's the plan that will work, that will give me what I want, or desire in my life. We may
Yeah.
very well want very similar things in our journeys. Most of us, we want to take care of our families, we want to live
Mm-hmm.
comfortably,
Mm-hmm.
we don't want to find ourselves in situations where we're desperate or
Yep.
having to rely on someone else. We don't want to face death, especially in a way that is degrading, or we don't
Oh,
want
horrific. Yeah.
we don't want sickness. I mean, we really, really want the same things. We want to add value. We want to leave a legacy. We want love. We want to be appreciated. We want to have fun. We want some mystery. At the core of who we all are, when we strip our uniqueness down, these things are common.
Yep.
And so wanting the plan that works is something that all of us can identify with. We have different perceptions of plans based on our experiences and based on what people have done over the years, but at the core, we're all looking for the way that works. I think genuinely most persons just want to know the way that works. It gets confusing. You don't know which one. Voices are saying so many different things. Who do you believe? Who do you not believe? Is it Christianity? Is it Buddhism? Is it something else? It's like there's just so much around.
Is
um
it what your parents are saying?
is
Is
it
it
what
what
you're
your peers are saying?
is it what you're hearing in society?
Yeah.
It's a really noisy world.
Very noisy. It's
It's a
very
really
noisy.
noisy world.
And so, this is a prayer I pray all the time. I said, God, you said that you have a plan for me. So I want to know that plan, right? And I always liken it to the fact that if a manufacturer is making something, he knows he has a purpose for that thing, right? Whatever it is. So if somebody is manufacturing this cup, he's manufacturing this cup for me to buy to drink my water from, or whatever it is, right? That's the purpose of this cup. And we are no different from these inanimate objects, you know. And so this is a topic that's really near and dear to my heart because we're socialized to follow a path. A lot of us,
Mhm.
the famous get an education, get a job, and live comfortably for the rest of your life. Right? It comes
Get
right back down to the
married,
base.
put up your
Yes,
picket fence, have
yes,
at least two kids.
yes, exactly.
The
Right?
picture.
And that is such a generic plan. Now that I think about it, you know, the thought that everybody would walk that same path is ludicrous. If you're to think about it. So if there is so much unique about us, why would our plans not be the plans for us not be unique?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and at the very core, we all want the same thing, but is it that we all are going to achieve it the same way?
Absolutely.
You
Are
know,
all our paths the same? Absolutely not.
right?
You know. But the thing about it is, you made a point when you showed the cup, and something just connected with me. I think one of the first things that we need to get clear on
Mm-hmm.
is who created us, because I
Mm-hmm.
think that question sets a lot in place, but it also dispels a lot of the noise. It automatically just filters it out. If
Mm-hmm.
you accept and believe how you were created, then that answers at least 50% of the question. It means
Mm-hmm.
that the plan for me, the purpose for me is defined by who manufactured me, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
not a product of apes, right? I didn't come from apes.
Sure.
I'm not a product of science, right? Um, I'm made in the image and the likeness of God. And even though that is something that we grow to learn, based on being socialized as Christians, those of us who have tested that model and experience God for themselves and see his consistency and faithfulness, know without the shadow of a doubt that he is real. But outside of that, there is such a amazing order to life that it cannot be the great bang that caused things to just fall in this marvelous order, right?
Yeah.
Every morning you get up, the sun rises, the sun sets, the moon comes out, the stars are out, the trees grow, right? In the most weirdest places, they stay green, right? They go through dry seasons, they go through wet seasons, and they live. The birds are in the air, they survive. There is a order to life. So that must tell you that there is one who orders life,
Yep.
you know? And if you clarify that first, it will automatically filter out some of the noise that we normally hear.
Mm-hmm.
Go to
And
the
cause it to the
manufacturer.
yeah, and cause it to zoning. So if you go to the manufacturer says that he made us in his image. And you go, interesting. What is that image? You know? And you start to know, say to yourself, okay, if I'm made in the image, then I should look a certain way. I should identify with that image, you
Yeah.
know?
And not another image, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It also says, if you are made in his image, and God didn't stop there. So there is a segment of humanity that never had Jesus as an example, but we
Mm-hmm,
do, right?
mm-hmm,
He came as an example. He lived the life, and the records are there that show. So even more so now, in a time like what we're living in, we have a reference, a very tangible reference. Someone who has lived the life, and the records are there for us to read and see. So if I'm trying to identify with this image, if I'm trying to reflect to this image, if I'm trying to line up with this image, not only do I have the word of God in terms of the written word, but I also have a life, a personified word that now allows me to say, oh, this is what he did. This is what he didn't do. This is how he
mm-hmm,
responded. This is how he
mm-hmm.
didn't respond. These were his habits. And that's how he was able to do the amazing things he did. This is how he showed humility. This was his posture. So, therefore, if I'm in his image and likeness, I now have this standard for me to adjust my life, my character in line with. And that makes it easier.
Yeah, it does. It does. It does. Um, and as you're talking, I'm thinking that so many people look for that identity in so many different places. As we mentioned before, you're socialized in a particular way, and your identity is shaped by how you're grown up. You get an idea of what is considered good, what's considered bad, what's considered acceptable, what's considered with no point of reference really. Especially in some cases, they're like tradition.
Yeah.
You ask people, well, why? That's just how it's been done. That's how what determines what you are what makes something good or bad, and in terms of identity, how you carry yourself. And people just create, you become this mishmash of all of these different things.
Not to mention
um
media. Did you say media?
Not to mention media, and now we have social media on top of it, which is just more noise. It's just more noise, more noise. And so, and don't forget the noise in your head, there's noise in your head, plus there's noise
Also,
all around you. And so, this whole idea of being able to cut through to figure out who you really are, and what you're made to do, because we're all made to do something. And how we even determine that, we see it in our giftings, in our talents, in our, in how we, the things that break our hearts or make us happy. These are these are clues that you get into that plan, that purpose that you're created for. Those are the clues.
so I mean, I'm lost in the world. I am in the middle of social media. I'm in the middle of all of what is happening. My family. I've gone to high school, university. I've been socialized. I see what's happening around me, and I don't necessarily have a connection with God. How do I find myself, Jan? How do I move from here towards this plan, or to in the direction of this plan? You know, you
Well,
want
as I
to
mentioned before, one is um the clues that you get, because you get clues from your early, where you have a proclivity to one thing, or you're naturally talented in one way, or or several different ways. Those are clues, right? But then, as you get older, there's also another clue. And the other clue is this unsettledness in your spirit. There's this something that, you know it's so
avoid?
funny. There's a void. There's just something that's missing. So there are many people who have actually worked, and followed the plan, going to school, getting an education, get a good job, buy the big house, da 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 da, all those things, and to find out that, hey, I'm not happy. I don't feel fulfilled.
Something is still missing.
Something is still missing.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
this unsettled thing of saying something is missing. And if you go back and watch, I think it was 2 videos ago, where we talked about just being still and just start to notice things and start to journal them. Start
Putting
to start,
yourself and
yeah,
observing
start to
yourself. Yeah.
become aware of what works for you, what doesn't work, what makes you uncomfortable, what's that void. I mean, we know there that Jesus is the only. I always say we're born with a God-sized hole in our hearts that only He can fill. But as you say, if you don't have that, just start by asking questions, talking to people,
Yeah.
you know.
Ask God. like,
Yes, there's
like
ask God,
it
but
is.
remember, you specifically said you don't know God.
Right. So it's also this daring. So my experience with him, I grew up with a mom who very Christian, very God, very everything. You're at the parts, you're a good kid, you do what you're supposed to do. But I couldn't personally identify. And then when I started having struggles in my own childhood, and the anger started coming up, and I'm saying, but the only reference I know is what my mom tells me. And if this God is real, why am I going through this? And I started going through that phase, Jan. And I remember one day, I can see the picture still in my parents' home, in my bedroom. I decided I'm gonna challenge this God. And I challenged this God. I literally spoke, right? And I said, if you are real. And Jan, I'm gonna tell you, see, after that, some things started happening in my life. I didn't put the pieces together at that time,
So,
but it was later on when I began to realize the little things that started happening in my life. Just little things. And the issue that was tormenting me in my childhood, little but little did God just start putting some pieces to free me from that, little by little. And that's why I say talk to him,
mm-hmm,
because us who know him and know the word also knows that he's an ever-present help. He's
mm-hmm.
here, he's everywhere.
Right, exactly.
And when you speak, he hears. And sometimes some people don't want to talk to somebody, Jan. because we failed each other so miserably. And
Yeah.
the truth is, you can reach out to God too,
Yeah.
right? He will answer you, He will redirect you, He will lead you. You're going to end up back in the church. You can't avoid it because that's a part of the plan, which we'll talk about another time. But just even just making that initial connection, if you are real, God, show me a sign.
Mm-hmm.
Many persons have spoken to doing that kind of challenge and having a response from him. Other persons, as you say, you talk to somebody, you go to the Bible because you have it, you want to read it for yourself with your own eyes, you know. So there are ways to move a little bit closer. And some of it is just stillness. I'm going to bring back the stillness because
Yep.
after a while, when you get quiet, you just know. There's a knowing on the inside of us, guys. Like there is a knowing that God is real. There is a
There
knowing.
is annoying. No matter how
There's a
you
knowing.
try to dissuade, how you try to build a story around it or reject or whatever it is, you know that you know
There is a knowing. There is
there
a
is
knowing.
something. Yeah, there is
And
annoying.
and the Bible confirms it. He says he placed eternity in the hearts of men. But I think even when you see people go through low times, there's this automatic response to want to talk about God.
Yeah.
All along they don't talk about God, but there's
True,
just
true.
this is
Yeah,
turned to God, especially when death is near.
yeah.
There's just a reality that comes. You strip all the facade
And you
away and
consider your humanity, as
you
they
come
say.
back to the crux of it.
Yeah,
And and the truth is it is there. We don't have to wait to be desperate.
yeah,
We don't have to wait to be in a dire situation. It
yeah.
is there, and getting still will help us sometimes to connect with what is there and to connect with God.
And another thing too that makes you become aware is this whole idea that when you start to look outside of yourself, um, a lot of times there's just so much noise going on when you're just trying to focus on you.
Hmm.
But there's a mystery in focusing on other people, right? And the mystery is that you were not born to serve you. You're not born to focus on you. You're born, all those gifts and talents, it was meant to serve other people around you, was meant to serve humanity. And in the same way you serve someone else was made to serve you.
Review.
Some other bodies are made to
Yes.
serve you in different ways. And that's why you have friendships. That's why you have doctors. That's why you have lawyers, because we all have different needs. But they have the gifts and they have the talents and stuff that's going to help you through this time. Just like you have whatever talent you have, if you can sing, your talent is for other people. You
Right.
don't you don't lock up, well, unless you can't really sing. You don't lock up in your bathroom and sing to yourself.
Yes,
You
we
sing
do.
for you no no not if you can really sing. Not if you can really sing. If you can really sing, you sing for other people
Yeah.
because you want to lift other people's spirits. You want to entertain them. You want to, whatever it is, you're singing for other people. You know. Um, So if you sing like me in the bathroom, yeah, that's for me. That nobody else can hear that. It's going to do nothing to nobody else. Probably scare them. But we were all born to serve other people, and so we come into the crux of the conversation this evening, right? And the crux of the conversation is around what were you born to do and why are you not doing it?
Yeah.
Why are you not doing it? Um, I mean, I think I've shared on here several times when, God tells me to do things and I'm like, what? I don't understand it. I remember very clearly he told me that um, I was to serve startup businesses. I'm to work with startup businesses. And me with my fresh self said, God, I don't know how to make that make money. And he says, who tell you I said it to make money? And I'll tell you, for a very long time, I didn't do anything about it because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to step out in faith and just follow this God who has a plan for me. I didn't know how. And I suspect that there are quite a few people who God has been nudging in a particular way, and they haven't moved because they don't know how. Or He only showed them one step, but they want to see all the way, like myself used to. You want to see all the way to the end, but you only need that one step, because faith without works is dead. So if you don't move, you're not exercising faith.
Right.
You got to move. And right here at the start of this new year, I'm saying to those of you watching, did God give you a book? Did He send you to start a business? Did He send you to start a NGO? What did He send you to? Did He send you to go back to school? Did He tell you to go back to school? What are you afraid of?
Right.
This is the master planner. The master planner, the person who knows who created you, who knows what He created you for. And He's saying to you, Andrea, do this.
Mhm.
What happened the first time when God told you to write that book?
The first time, first time, or the first
Yes.
time, first
The,
time.
yeah, the first.
I mean, the first response is always a chuckle. I'm not a writer. That's the first thing. But then you recognize that the things that God calls you to, it's not usually the things that you think. And there's a beauty to it because that's how you know it's Him. Because when
Mm-hmm.
He makes you do something that you thought you couldn't do, then you can only but give Him the glory and not take credit for it.
Yeah.
But you mentioned something, Jan, earlier, and I just wanted to kind of go back to it. Um, and to merge it with what you just said, one of the hints to identify what God's plan and purpose is for you is that that plan and purpose must fit this criteria. It's not about you. And if
Never
the
about
plan
you.
that you have in your mind is very you focused, very self focused, then that's a first hint to tell you no, that may not be God's plan for you, or your perspective of this plan is limited and you're not seeing the bigger picture. In
Mm-hmm.
any case, you would not be able to move into this plan until you see it properly, right? Or you
Right.
see what you're supposed to do. God's plan is never going to be silo. It's never going to be selfish. It's never going to be just about you. And that's one of the measuring sticks that we can use to say, boy, I have a plan, I have some dreams and some goals, my Lord. And then you ask yourself the question, who benefits from this plan? Who will receive the rewards and the benefits of this plan? And if you find that it is very you, my people, mine, our, then that's not going to be God's plan. In our society now, everything is moving us towards self-care, self this, fight for yourself. Worse when you can't trust people around. So you have to take care of yourself. You have to do this. You have to do that. I want
Yeah.
us to wake up to the agenda that
Yeah.
we can't allow ourselves to overcompensate the mess in our world and still end up doing the wrong thing. Because at the end of the day, the plan that works is the plan that has us looking out for each other. There is no other way for us to come out of this without there being community, without there being an interconnectivity between us. No man is an island.
Yep.
No man can stand alone. So if your plan seems like it's you alone on the island, red flag.
Red flag.
That's a red flag. And take the red flag warning early because it means that it's still going to fail later if it doesn't satisfy if if it doesn't satisfy the criteria, then it's not going to have the blessing of God. And that's what you want. That's what we want. We want to be following the path where heaven is going to be along with us. We want to be following the path where we have God's blessing, and we're not doing it in our own strength. And the only path and the only plan that will give us that is the path that aligns with Him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Start there. And what we're saying is one of the things is it's never ever about us. It's always about others.
Yep.
Always
Hmm. We were created to serve.
each other.
We were created to serve each other without a shadow of a doubt.
And what a beautiful model. Like stop.
Yeah.
Like stop and think about it. What
Hmm.
if we're all serving each other in the way that we were as we're supposed to? What would life be like? Not like this.
Yeah.
If we were
Yeah.
truly serving each other and doing what is good for the other party. John, if I live my life to make sure that you get the best out of what my gifting and my grace is, and you're doing the
The
same,
same. Yeah.
how much
We are
better?
all doing the same. So there be no space for selfishness, no space for I and pride and all of those things. There'll be no space for that because we'd all be operating in our sphere of genius, really,
Yeah.
which is God's plan. It's a genius plan.
But it goes further. There will also be no sphere for sabotage.
Yeah.
There's no reason to be competing and seeing each other as
Mhm.
a competitor that you have to bring down, right? So you don't have to be sabotaging on the job, or you don't have to be bad minding anybody else because you know your own truth and you're just living your own truth and you're working with the gift that God has given you while the other person is doing the same. You don't need to be jealous of other people, right? Yeah, I mean, so many things will be different. You can be
Yeah.
trusting, you don't need to be manipulative, so the whole atmosphere changes when we understand that we are here for each other, but also that we need each other. There is no other way that it will work.
Yeah.
Look at what is
No,
happening in
no.
our world. We're
Hmm.
destroying each other.
Yeah.
There is no
Yeah.
other way that it works.
And every day, if you look on the news every day, that's what you see. That's what you see. You see people destroying each other.
We do.
In
Even the
the,
food that we're producing that we need. Like, you know, producers are just using low quality stuff or things that we know will be harmful. But we say, oh, there's percentage. This is below a certain percentage, so it's okay. But
yeah,
guess what?
because it
Everybody's not the
satisfies your
same.
greed.
It
It
is it is
satisfies.
driven by greed.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is driven by greed. Because everything can be done in the right way.
Yeah.
It's driven by greed.
And so
Um,
it takes it back to me, for me, Andrea, to identity. You see, if you are very clear about your identity, because everyone is good. Everybody has a capacity to be good. Everybody has a capacity to be kind and loving. Everybody has that capacity. Some people don't know where it is, but and that's a function of an identity crisis.
right.
I
And
think
the
what we have in
choices
this
that you've
world
made.
is an identity crisis because
Right.
if I know that I'm a child of God and I'm made in his image and that I have this example in Christ of how to live and how to treat each other and all that and I follow his example, then if I find myself in any other position that's contrary to all of that, then it means that hold on, something is wrong, something I need to disassociate myself from. I go back to the times when I used to think, oh boy, I'm not good enough. What is that fueled by?
Right.
I'm not good enough, or I'm not this, or all the negative things that gets poured down into your brain, and you agree with them, right? You operate outside of who you are. That's what it does. That's what it causes you to do. Um, I saw a stat over the weekend that we're talking about um, people who get involved in crime and violence are something like 50 to 60%. When you check them, they went through childhood traumas or people told them all of this and all of this. So it shifts your complete trajectory when your identity gets messed with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's so important. I go back to our words. Our words are can there's life and death in the tongue.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with it we begin to not only mess with our identity, but we mess with other people's
Other
as
people's
well,
identity. Yeah.
right? And so I come and I beat down on you, I beat down on you. But you know what happened? And they always say when you're pointing at someone, four other fingers pointing back at you. So it's kind of like you're doing the same thing to yourself. You're messing with your identity when you mess with somebody else's,
Right.
you know? And so what it creates is this world of people who don't know who they are. Because if you
Yeah.
really knew who you are, there's no reason to steal, there's no reason to kill. If you really understood who you are, that you are made in the image of the great Almighty God.
Yeah.
If you understand that, what that means, it means that I'm loving just like how God is loving. I'm faithful just like how He's faithful. You know, I'm kind and I'm truthful and I'm honest and all of these things. That's who I am.
Yeah.
You know, And if you're anything less than that, then you're having a little identity crisis. And you have to go
Okay.
back to your maker, just like how you go back to a manual when something not working. Go back to your maker. Go back to your maker and say, well, what's going on here? There are some things out of alignment. I need help because we were all created. When he says, for I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. That's a whole heap of planning for one person, and it's for all of us. And as you said at the beginning, this whole thing of the Big Bang Theory is the same concept. There's no way the Big Bang Theory can be true that he has how much billion people on the planet and he has a plan for every one of them. That level of genius can't just come with a bang.
I can't come with a bang. But I want us to zoom in on the fact that we are we're in a predicament, and in helping persons to navigate from where they are, I want us to shine light of the fact that it isn't a turn right and everything becomes perfect,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's not the situation we are in. We literally have to make the right choices out of the predicament we are in,
Mm-hmm.
right? It is our choices in the past, the persons who have gone, ahead of us, or our predecessors, who have contributed to what we're living in this space. And guess what? We're also contributing. So we see the damage, we see the patterns over the years. We know that if we do certain things, if we abuse our children, they're going to turn around and abuse their children. It's a cycle. And we're seeing all of this, but we're still doing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so humanity is not learning from itself. So we really are in a predicament. So here is what I want us to think about. The first thing is to become so aware that going with the flow does not benefit us, neither you or me, nor us as humanity, as a community. It just doesn't. And we have to wake up to the fact that if we continue on the same path, it's just going to be more downhill, downhill, and things are going to get worse. No, what's the alternative? The alternative is also going to be hard work, right? So if you do nothing, you're going to get worse results and it's still going to be difficult. But to come out of it, right, it's still going to take some effort. Faith without works is dead. But it's now recognizing that continuing on the same path is not going to help us. It's not progressing us. It's actually making it worse. And saying, okay, you know what? I'm going to play my part. I'm going to start in my community. I'm going to start in my sphere. I'm going to start using my gifts and my graces in a productive and non selfish way because I recognize that every choice I make has an impact on the people around me. It has an impact on my nation. And if each of us get to the point where we recognize we can't continue in this vein and we have to make a difference, and little by little, one by one, people start changing, that's when we begin to see changes. But let me tell you, when you start changing, God blesses your change.
Yeah.
You make righteous changes, you're not on your own. God blesses that. But it comes from a place in your heart where you have to recognize that the old flow is not going to take us to a better place.
And
And
you know, as you talk about that, is this about the old flow? Especially, and I'm going to speak specifically to Jamaica. We love to sit and complain about Jamaica. Be the change you want to see. If you don't change, Jamaica won't change. You know, it's we cannot just continue on the same path, and we're pointing fingers over there and saying they are not and they're not. Be the change you want to see. And for that to happen, you actually need to start walking into the purpose that you're created for. Because when he made that plan, he understood that some people were going to need doctors, some people are going to need lawyers, some people are going to need grocers, some people are going to need seamstresses, you know. And so he created all of these things, all of these plans for all of these different people, all of us, right? And so sitting back and saying, well, you know, I only see one step, you know, so I'm not moving. But at the same time, you're busy criticizing and pulling down somebody else when you yourself not doing it, not stepping out into your purpose. You know, take the beam, is it the beam or the plank? Whichever one out of your eye before you take the speck out of the other person's eye. That's the whole thing. We are all responsible, is what I'm saying. We're all responsible. Every one of us. You're responsible for um, for sharing what you have with others. You are. It
yeah,
was never meant for you. It was never about you.
you're responsible for doing the thing that only you alone can do. The problem that you
You
see,
alone.
the
Yeah.
issues that you recognize, you're seeing them, you're recognizing them because there is a role for you to play, right? For some persons, it may be as simple as, prayer, but for other persons, it's tangible efforts creating solutions to solve those problems. And so the things that you see, the things that annoy you, the things that agitate you, they're not just there just for being there. These are sending you signals all throughout life, signals, signals. This is an area you need to zoom in on. This is an area you are called to provide a solution. If you see the problem, then it means that you're a part of the solution. And if you take that approach into anything in life, then you ain't got no time to complain as much. You
Mm-hmm.
complain in terms of the fact that you recognize this is substandard, or this is inhumane, or this is not justice. But then you take the next step, which is the works, right? To say, what can I do based on what I have, based on my situation and surrounding? What can I do to do better, to
Mm-hmm.
correct what I see is wrong?
Yeah.
That's a part of the responsibility that we carry. So it's both our giftings, but it's also what our eyes are able to recognize, what our hearts are tugged by, as well as anything that the Lord lays on you. This is an area He wants you to ministering or to serve people in. All of those things form a part of the plan that is associated with you specifically, but also the plan for humanity because it's all interconnected,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you know, as I'm in the area of working with startups, I'm going to speak specifically this evening to business startups, those people who God has called you to start that business. And you keep telling them, I don't know anything about business. Me, God, I don't know how to do that. You see, here's how He's wonderful. He knew that you would need somebody like Andrea, somebody like me to help you to do that thing. He has also provided all the other. He always gives you the core. And so whether the core is baking or decorating or whatever it is, don't dismiss it. Oh, and worse, don't dismiss it because it's not spiritual. Please don't dismiss it because it's not spiritual, right? God is a God who He wants to give us, wants us to enjoy the things that He has provided for us. You know, when you look at nature, there are some people who are great at planting gardens for others to enjoy. And that is how, you know, that's what they were created for, that to build gardens so that people can enjoy. So because it's not a minister or an apostle or whatever, no, God created us all for specific purposes. So God understands that He made us, but He never made us one dimensional. He didn't. You know, there's so many things and facets to us, so many sides to us. Yes, there's a spiritual, but He also understands that we need relaxation and rest and rejuvenation, and people get rejuvenated by going out and having a good time, whether it is going to a park, or you know, going to somewhere to eat really great food, right? That somebody's equally talented to do. So I'm going to ask, what do you have in your hand that God has told you to start a business with? What do you have? What has He told you to start?
Mm.
And why haven't you started?
And I mean, it can be business or event, whatever it is, because some people do
Whatever it is,
charity, some people
right?
do non-for-profit, but
Right,
it's fairly something you're supposed to do, right?
right.
So, what do you have in your hand that God has asked you, or
What?
pointed out, or indicated? This is special, you know. This is
Yeah,
a you thing, you know.
yeah, 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 absolutely. For those
I,
of you who have joined us by YouTube, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Please like and subscribe, um, and share. Don't forget to hit the share button for those people who you think need to hear again that they need to start that business, write that book, do whatever it is that God has called you to do, what you're gifted to do. You know, this whole thing of just existing. We were never meant to just exist. Was it you who was telling me the story of the gentleman who runs and he says he feels God's pleasure when he runs?
no, it wasn't
Can you
me.
imagine that? You're running, and that is what God has called you to do, run. Isn't that amazing? I'm sure that's something that Usain can, or Shelly Ann, or all of these guys can identify with. That that is what they were made to do. You know, the man who was made to weld something, or the artist, or even the dancer. You know, we were all created for beautiful things, and they all serve a purpose, right?
Um,
They all serve a purpose. So, Andrea, some very practical steps
Practical
for people,
steps. What
for
makes,
people,
huh?
sorry, for people who know that they've been told to do something and haven't moved.
Right.
Please,
So
what are the next steps?
right. So oftentimes the not moving is as a result of a lack of clarity, um, some kind of fear, which is now your perception of yourself, as well as this lack of knowledge. And if you find yourself at a place where an idea comes to you and it seems far fetched, it's only far fetched because your mind isn't far yet. All right. The minute your mind catches up with it, it's going to be fine. So,
Yeah.
how do you help yourself to catch up with it? And if it's a particular thing, because God will even just lay a thought, just lay something in your heart. Some people don't even realize it's God does plant some things in them, right?
Or
And I
I didn't, or
to
as
you,
in my case, he will give you dreams and
you got
visions.
a dream.
Yeah.
Start researching. You may not even know what it is. Start researching. Try to get some information on what it is. And you will find that as you start researching, it is going to surprise you because it's going to be aligned with you. There's no question about that, right? Another thing is oftentimes your own thought of yourself, your own perception of yourself will not only be a stumbling block, but it's also part of the reason why you are unable to move right now. And sometimes I had that in my journey also, where I had to take that time to be with me, right? So we talk a lot about being made in the image of God, and the fact that our identity is a choice, right? A lot of us have to go through that process before we start a new season where we enhance our identity, right? So there's some things you have to get rid of, and there are some things that you have to now assume. There are some things that are not healthy for you, and they're not going to help you in this journey. And you have to say, your time is up. You've done so well. We've had a good run, but now I have to put you to rest. And then you have to welcome a new context, a
Mm-hmm.
new context to ensure that your new season is birthed and watered. And so taking the time, Jan, to just be honest with self, doing the self-awareness, recognizing the areas you need work, but also now taking the step to get the help. Even if you recognize that I don't have a skill set, but I know someone, I think you were talking about that earlier, who may be good at that area. Understudy, get them to mentor you, ask questions. You may see that there is a character flaw, you know, and you want to work on this area because it caused peer problem in the past. And if you try anything, it's gonna cause more problem in the future. Deal with it,
Yeah.
right? Deal with it. There are more than enough trained persons around us. And even if you're not going to a professional, we have pastors, coaches, even within, communities that will help you to build your character and improve it. You are just not fixed. And I want to reinforce the point that we are not fixed. So because we are not fixed, it's for us now to become intentional
Yeah.
about who we want to be and what we want to do and take the steps to make the change. So, those for me are the practical first steps, Jan, where you prepare the person
Mm-hmm.
for the new season, but you also prepare yourself to understand the new season you're going in. And then, as we said a couple weeks ago, never ever leave God out of your planning. Don't take a step without your chairman's approval.
Yeah.
Okay, CEOs, right? You don't take a step without your chairman's approval. Everything hand in hand, toe in toe with God to ensure that whatever you do is blessed by Him.
Yeah.
So, those are my practical steps.
And I would add to that,
Move
Andrea,
on for that. Yeah,
I
plan to
would add to
prosper.
that, write it down. He
And
says,
oh, absolutely right.
write it down. Just keep writing it down. Just keep asking. I have now learned to, when the thought comes, I write it down, or I will get up. I dream a lot. So I will get up in the middle of the night, find my phone, find a note thing, and whatever I dream, I just start to write it out.
Right,
And when I get up in the morning, I'm asking God, okay, God, what does this mean? What am I supposed to do with this? Or sometimes actually go back and dream again, asking Him,
right,
what am I to do with this information? Because so sometimes you get this inkling, you get this impression, you get a dream, something. It's very important to write these things down.
right.
God says, write the vision down
And make it plain.
and make it plain. And so it might not be plain when you first write it down, but if you keep going back to it and asking, He will answer you, and it will just flesh itself right out.
Right,
And whoever He needs to send you to, He'll send you, or He'll send them to you. I mean, when I think about how Andrea and I came together to be doing these lives, right? It's just something none of us expected at all, at all. When I found myself saying to her, I think we need to do Facebook Live, she looked at me like, what
Live
are you
who?
talking about? First of all, it's not like I had this in my head somewhere that said, oh, we need to do this. It just kind of come out of my mouth. And then here we are, how many months later, just and so I believe that we're here to instigate you. I believe that we're here to give you a little nudge,
to be ticks under your tail. You're so nice to me. I don't care to say it. Right? I am here to shake us up, guys.
Yes.
Really, really shake us up.
Yeah. So our job is really just to be God's mouthpieces to you, to bring those things up that we don't necessarily talk about them in church. We don't necessarily talk about them in the workplace. These aren't the conversations you have with too many friends. But this is a conversation we're happy to be having with you. Um, and these things are important. These things are important because we were all born to manifest the glory
Right.
of God, right? And how can we manifest the glory of God if we don't know who we are? How can we manifest the glory of God if we're not walking in the purpose that He created us for? How can we manifest,
We don't know him.
um, without Him? How can we manifest the glory of God if we're all about ourselves? You know, there's not a selfish bone in Jesus. He came and he gave us all the examples, but we've never seen a selfish example. So if we're doing something that's all about us, then
Red flag.
red flag,
Red flag. Red
right,
flag.
right. So
So as we're
hi, Mr.
closing,
Vaughn, how are you? Happy.
guys,
Yes,
it's the so invest because as we said, a plan that works, but we want to emphasize the works, whereas you have to take your step. And
yeah,
all of what we're talking about is how you invest, how you partner with God, how you sow so that you can get that reaping little by little to full fulfillment of your purpose. So take the steps that you need to take. Whatever resonated in our conversation today, whatever touched you where you know you need to deal with this area, start there. Don't worry about the staircase, as Jan said. The only thing that matters right now is the next step that you need to take in the right direction. And
yeah,
that's the step that we're encouraging you to take now.
yeah. And
Over to you,
remember
Jan.
that we are available. Send us a note, DM us. We're on socials. Um, yeah, send us a note and we'll be happy to have a
More than
conversation. Yeah,
happy.
we'll definitely be happy to do that. So we're gonna do part two next week. And part two, we're going to dig a little deeper into the things that stop us from moving. We have to face them because if you don't know that they're there, or if you don't acknowledge that they're there, you can't remove them. So next week we're going to talk about the things that stop us from stepping into purpose.
The stoppers and blockers.
Yeah, the stoppers and blockers. So we
Yeah.
look forward to seeing you. Please, if you are not yet a subscriber over at FaithWorks 2023, please jump on over and join us there. Let me drop the link. Um, and I, where do I drop this link now, Andrew?
In the comments. You find it?
Okay, so
Yeah, let's put
yes.
in the comment box.
So like and subscribe and share. Thanks for coming on.
Have a good evening,
And we'll see
guys.
you
Thanks for joining.
next week, same time, same place.
Bless up.
All right, bye.
Bye.